Good morning. Steve McClafferty here, Finance Director at the Vermont Veterans Home. Recently, the Veterans Home was able to acquire our own internal TV channel, and today we're starting one of our first of our series. This is Getting to Know You, and our first guest is Dr. Peter King, who's our medical director here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Doc. So tell us what you've been doing here with the COVID-19 and everything going on here at the Vets Home.
Well, COVID-19 threw a real curveball into Vermont and long-term care and the Veterans Home. Vermont had their first case March 7th, and since actually prior to that, we've been gearing up, and it's been quite a challenge. We initially didn't really know what was coming. I mean, we certainly had experts helping guide us, but we didn't know where we were going to be at as a state in Vermont. We've been very fortunate, I think, with both our rural nature and the leadership from our government and local hospitals and the health department, who have really helped us shape our approach to this, which has been successful. We haven't had any residents with COVID-19, and so that's been something we've been very happy about. The challenge is trying to keep up the intensity of the effort. First couple of months, we were gearing up all kinds of activities to really minimize the chance of our residents and staff coming down with COVID-19. It starts with screening at the door for all of us when we show up. We have our temperature taken and asked a list of questions about travel and symptoms of COVID-19. And we extend that screening to every resident twice a day. We screen for symptoms and fever. And then we've really addressed the needs of personal protective equipment for staff and for visitors. That was a challenge and remains a challenge, but particularly early on because our country had a national shortage of masks and gowns and face shields and gloves. So we've spent the last 3 months getting these supplies through the Emergency Operations Center, through the state, which has done a great job helping coordinate that. And that situation has definitely improved over 3 months ago. We're still not out of the woods as production in our country is ramping up to try to help fill this need for the future.
Do you feel, you mentioned a couple things there, one about the personal protective equipment. Do you feel we have sufficient supplies on here currently? And then the second question relates to, as you mentioned, all employees every day when they come in, we have our temperatures taken. How long will that go on?
Well, we do have sufficient PPE now. We've never actually had to say don't use PPE because of running out entirely. The CDC has given guidelines to use which apply in situations of shortages. So we've never had to go to crisis conditions, which is really for which we're very grateful. One special facet of that was the N95 masks, which unlike these procedure masks, are really the optimal masks to use when you're actually dealing with someone who has COVID-19 or measles or tuberculosis, those types of things, because it screens out a bit more of the aerosol and lowers the risk of the wearer. But that was not standard of care in nursing homes, and so we needed to establish a respiratory protection program, which is how OSHA oversees the use and training for N95. So that we've been able to amass some N95 masks. So we started fit testing our own employees. We had a vendor come and fit test many more. And now the hospital, Southwestern Vermont Medical Center, is helping us out by doing fit testing, which means using an N95 mask and testing to make sure that it fits the face appropriately. Before you use it in a clinical setting, you have to have medical clearance and have a fit test just to make sure it's going to do the job it's intended to do.
And about like temperature and the screening of employees every morning.
Right.
How long?
How long will we be doing that?
Yeah.
That
Not that I'm looking so it's going to end
Right.
June 18th.
No.
But is this going to be our new normal for a while?
Certainly for a while. Certainly a couple of years, I would imagine, before general immunity in the community, either from vaccine or having had the infection, is there. Otherwise, we'll always just risk it coming into the facility, and that's one way to screen out people who are symptomatic. The challenge is the people who don't have symptoms, who have it. The outbreak currently in Winooski, Vermont, 82% of the people do not have any symptoms in that outbreak, and I've never heard that high a number before in the reports I've read about COVID-19. So that means it's very hard to catch if people aren't getting sick from it.
Yeah, I was reading in the news about I forget one of the pharmaceuticals, AstraZeneca is like on the forefront, and they hope to have like 400 million injections or an antivirus, so to say, available by the end of the year. The question is it going to be effective?
Right.
We really don't know until testing is all, sort of like we were talking briefly, the polio.
Right. You have to be careful what you wish for, because if you forego a lot of the safety and efficacy testing, how good is the vaccine or safe is the vaccine when you use it, because it normally takes 10 years to develop a vaccine. And I know there's about 120 vaccine developers in progress right now. So we'll see, but most reasonable experts in infectious disease will tell you it's going to take some time, a couple of years probably. But
do you foresee at some time in the future that our residents and our employees here will get both a flu vaccine and a COVID type vaccination? Once a year?
Yeah, I think that'll, I don't know about the frequency of it, because I don't know how long lasting the immunity is. The infection's only really been around since December, so we don't know how long people may have immunity for.
Yeah, I was reading early on, IBM's supercomputer, not Watson Summit, had identified 77 enzymes that could work on to counteract the COVID-19.
Yeah.
Nothing new and exciting afterwards. So,
I know. Well, fortunately, there's a lot of people smarter than me working on
that
problem.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of people more smarter than me too. And I know we do spend a lot of money up here at the Vets Home for PPE and getting supplies, which we do want to make sure we have sufficient supplies. Like you said, we do have.
Right.
So, want to thank. We were one of the earlier adopters of closing for visitors, closing new admissions.
Right, that's really changed the feel here, because we know that COVID-19 would only get in here through staff or visitors. Has to get in here somehow, and so trying to put as many roadblocks up. Fortunately, our VVH family has been very supportive of all this, but it creates a real strain. I mean, humans were not meant to be segregated and separated and isolated. And so a lot of our efforts are to try to facilitate more connection. And so we've, really tried to pursue, electronic connection with telephones, video chats, Facebook letters, You can actually communicate with letters, with
Yes.
stamps, and I'm actually a big proponent of letters because, which everybody knows me, it would be very surprised because I've written, less than 20 in my life, but I just started writing my grandkids, and it's just nice to hold.
Yes.
If you have a memory disorder, you can reread it, and if you don't, it's still just nice to have something written and you can hold in your hand. So trying to do that, but we're moving ahead, and hopefully we'll see some advancing in visitation.
Okay.
I mean, we can do window visits now, but there is an effort to get open visitation outside, still maintaining physical distancing, because that's, as Winooski teaches us, it's still out there and can be very infectious, and so we still have to take those precautions, but at least getting people and their friends and family together, I think, will be really nice development.
Oh yeah, like you're right. We are a social creature. It's hard to have conversations through FaceTime or Zoom with your kids, through friends. But like you said, write a letter. That's always the best thing. 55 cents and your letter goes anywhere in the United States within a couple of days.
I know.
Yes. I know the governor's supposed to come out with some new guidelines this Wednesday, I believe. Is it for reopening or is it just for visitation?
Well, I think
for
it's primarily,
nursing homes?
I think we're expecting to see some plans for visitation. I think that's the priority. There's been some phased models at how to open up nursing homes. It's a very gradual process. And I think that's one thing we've learned in the approach to COVID-19, that a gradual process works better than not. Unfortunately, a lot of the troubles Arizona is going through right now, and North Carolina, who in those states experienced a very rapid opening up process, and unfortunately it's having real consequences. And I think Governor Scott's approach has been slow but steady progress, and with the outbreak that happened in Winooski, they're able to focus and do contact investigations, and that's been very effective, and that will happen periodically until we get a vaccine.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for the updates on COVID-19. So let's get to really getting to know Dr. Peter King here. A homage to James Lipton from inside the actor's studio. So I have the cards here like he had. So want to know, married, kids, grandkids?
Yes.
Okay. How many years you been married?
Well, you said you weren't going to ask any specific
Okay,
facts,
good. Are you married? Okay.
but I will go out on a limb, and
More than 10?
this year will be 42.
All right. Congratulations.
And, to Dawn Dayton, a high school sweetheart, and we've she works up at Bennington College with the Writers Seminars. It's a graduate program in writing. And we have two girls.
Oh, right.
Heather, the oldest, is a psychologist in Northampton, Mass.
Okay.
And my daughter Jess is orthopedic physician's assistant up in St. Albans.
Oh, wow. Very good.
And so, and they both have two kids, an older daughter and a younger son, and we just have a blast.
Oh, glad to hear that. What made you go into medicine? Was it that operation game we had as kids back in the 60s?
Well, Mom.
Mom, okay.
Well, I liked people. I liked medicine. I liked taking apart little animals and seeing how they worked. Really, my first real foray into healthcare was at 16 when I started working as a counselor at a camp for kids with diabetes, Camp Joslin, affiliated with the Joslin Clinic in Boston.
Yep.
and that just became a real place where medicine meets kids, meets life, and with a focus on, this is diabetes is something you have, it doesn't define you. And so that's where I really got interested in it. I ended up going back as camp doctor. I became an administrator there and went back as a camp doctor after I went to medical school. And
Good.
and so that played a pivotal role.
Oh, very good. Where did you attend high school, and were you valedictorian?
Yes, and I don't think so. That's my recollection is that I wasn't the valedictorian, but Northfield Mount Herman is a school in Northfield, Mass, and it was a boarding school, and I met my wife there in our senior year, and it's a beautiful setting to go to high school, and we had a great time.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that. Where did you go to college?
Well, I just went up to Connecticut, to Dartmouth, and was there for 4 years and majored in biology and a minor in French. And that was a quick 4 years, and then moved northwest to University of Vermont for medical school.
Oh, well, good. Just aside, I don't have it written down. Did you go to France?
Did go to France. That's actually how I met my wife. We went on a foreign, not exchange program, but a foreign study program our senior year together. And there were 2 campuses at this school, so she and I had actually never crossed paths until senior year when we went to France. And then we both, at different times, went to France during college as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely said. They really still do appreciate what the Allies did during the war over there.
They are very, very grateful. In fact, we were planning to go we had been to France once since then, in the intervening 46 years. And, but we were going to go there in March with some people who went with us in high school to visit a girl who we knew in high school over there. But it was not meant to be.
Maybe in the fall or next year.
I know.
You hit go to Normandy, Mont Saint Michel. I mean, phenomenal places.
That would be.
Did you have a band in college, and what type of music did you play?
Well, I did not have a band so much. I played rock and roll through elementary and middle school, and then then in high school I was smitten with the banjo, and I started playing a lot of. I play a lot of rock and roll, but my junior year I started playing a lot of banjo, and so I played a little bit of kind of bluegrass in college and med school, but in residency. The bluegrass took off. I went to University of Virginia in Charlottesville, and that's bluegrass heaven there. And there's a lot of great people would come and play in the little venues there in Charlottesville. And so I played fiddle and banjo in a bluegrass band there. We played around some. Yeah, it was a blast.
Oh, good. If you could play with any musician, alive or deceased, who would it be?
Paul McCartney. I've always been a big fan of the work. He and another musician, John Lennon. If you're familiar with him.
Yeah, with John Paul,
and
George, and
Beatles. I don't know if that rings a bell now, but
They
just the breadth of the songwriting. It just a time in my life where I just really enjoyed. Love their music and still play it all the time, and so I just that would be a dream.
Oh, okay. Well, he was up here a couple of years ago.
I know he was.
So up, was it Halfgood?
In Syracuse, he was.
Yeah, Syracuse. But he stopped up in Peru.
Yeah.
So next time he comes, we'll have your guitar ready. Yeah. Where did you complete your residency?
Well, I did that down in Charlottesville,
Okay.
Virginia, in family practice, um, and got a taste of all kinds of things that you do. We did obstetrics. We got a little taste of prison medicine. Worked in a federal prison as a doctor.
Okay.
Not as a condition of release.
Okay,
but,
good. Yeah. Whew.
It is a great area of the country. Never
Yes.
spent any time in. It's beautiful.
I have good friends down in Warrenton, Virginia.
Yeah.
So it's really nice down there.
Yeah.
Horse country. You were an officer of the Commissioned Corps of the U.S. Public Health Service. Can you explain that?
Can I
What is
explain
that?
it? Well, it is a uniformed service, and they and the public health service gets deployed in various circumstances. The division I was involved in was the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the IHS, Indian Health Service, and I worked on the Zuni Indian Reservation in Zuni, New Mexico, which is just south of Gallup, where Route 66 cuts across. And we were there for 4 years, working on the reservation with 8 other docs, and we did obstetrics. We had our own little dialysis unit. We had our own a little mini ICU, and it was quite an experience right after residency. Just sort of digging in, and it was a great community. They were we were very welcomed there, and it was great to have young kids immersed in another culture.
Oh, that's great. Why did you choose to specialize in family medicine?
Well, my interests have always been broad, and looking at medicine as a not just an individual situation, but as a family and as a community. And family medicine sort of gives you that breadth. Specialists are key for focusing in on particular issues, but often it's sort of approaching the whole person is the aspect of medicine that really appealed to me.
What do you feel is your biggest accomplishment in medicine? And don't say graduating.
Well, that's hard to say. In terms of accomplishment, I mean, there's been all kinds of programs that we evolve, but it's hard to, in medicine. Aren't a lot of, at least in my world, hasn't been a lot of individual efforts. It's been teams. And I have to say, at the Vets Home, it's now 20 years I've been here, and it's while the teams have changed some, the current team is the longest running and most stable team, and has made, I think, the most substantive changes in terms of focusing on the resident experience, the resident's health. And so I would say, just in terms of the accomplishment, is having the long-term investment in the home here and in veteran culture. That started with 20 years in the VA when I really became much more immersed in veterans' health, and so I guess, really being the director of the VA clinic, and then transitioning over here, having the VA clinic go from, we started on a bus in the parking lot and back here, with a big American flag painted on it, to, now, there's 30 employees, under the roof that, so I think that seeing that grow was, I guess if I had to put my finger on something, I would settle on that. But the current Vets Home environment, I find very inspiring, just because it's quite a team here, and then dealing with COVID-19 has really demonstrated, the ability for people to dig within themselves and put up with a major adversity.
You have been extremely diligent in preventing the spread of COVID-19 here at VVH. What has been your biggest challenge related to that?
Well, I think the biggest challenge starting off was the sense of unknown. And I say you were diligent. I mean, that really is brought
Yes.
into the
Yep.
facility because, you know, I mean, every healthcare facility, you know, had a big sense of not knowing what was around the corner. And so I think that dealing with the unknown and the fear of how bad this is going to be, for us, it certainly, you know, hasn't been the experience that many other places, particularly in urban areas, that have struggled with this. And you know, 2/3 of the United States COVID deaths are nursing home residents. You know, so it's a massive number. So the fear of that was the challenge, and the fear has really mitigated now. I mean, where you could cut the anxiety with a knife in that first month or 6 weeks, we've entered a period of quasi-equilibrium, knowing that outbreaks can happen, but having had great experience now. So I think the challenge is a little different. It's now sort of keeping the effort up, staying focused on the end game and on your fundamentals.
Yes. Yeah, I think between yourselves and the other leaders here, phenomenal job, you know, educating, get the word out, you know, doing, I'll say, universal precautions. Wash your hands, things our mothers taught us. That comes back. So that helps out. And my final question, if you could choose another profession, what would it be?
Well, it's hard to narrow it down because it'd be easier to sort of pick the ones that I wouldn't want to do. Accountant, for instance.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I would have been a doctor, but that D in biology sort of killed it for me.
You know, I love gardening and landscaping.
Cultivating things.
I enjoy that a lot. Music is all consuming, and I really enjoy doing that with the family, friends, and playing out when I can. Those would be probably two of the competitors. I love woodworking and building things.
Bunch of different things. I have a garage going up at the end of the month. You can join myself and my college roommates. That's all I have. I want to thank you very much, Doc. Leadership, everything, taking the time to be our inaugural, our first inductee into getting to know you. So the next ones are going to be a lot more difficult. So thank you very much, Doc. And we'll see you on the next side.
All right.
Thank
you.